Hi, everybody. This is going to just quickly walk you through the FRQ for Unit 3, checkpoint number 1. So, I wanted to just get on here and provide just some tips and tricks for completing this FRQ. First things first, you'll notice that I do have your writing tips up here. This is definitely going to be a question that you'll see that you need to answer the verb, people. You'll see all of these in this particular question. So remember, identify is just one sentence, no elaboration or explanation. Describe, provide relevant characteristics on the specified topic, right? Make sure you're defining all key terms. That should be a couple of sentences. And then explain, right? Define all relevant terms, use the word because. This should be a paragraph. You want to elaborate and provide evidence to show the relationship between course concepts and what the question is asking. So, for this particular question, you are going to use this map below to answer the following questions. And this map is showing you the top state marginal individual income tax rates from 2018. Now, all you need to know, just if you're freaking out about what the heck that means, this is about income tax, okay? Tax that you pay the federal government on the money that you make, okay? So you're going to use this map to answer the 4 questions that we have here. This is a 4-point question, and your first point comes from identifying a state with a state income tax rate between 2% and 5%. So for this particular question, this is going to be one sentence, and you're going to take a look at your map and your key and figure out what state or a state has an income tax rate between 2% and 5%. So I would probably start out my answer with something like this as a complete sentence. One state with a state income tax rate between 2% and 5% is, and then I would list the state that you choose there. Okay, so that should be pretty straightforward. Now, the next thing that you are going to do is describe a pattern that you see on the map. So, taking a look at your map, right, you need to talk about maybe some trends that you see. Where do we predominantly see higher tax rates versus lower tax rates? Is that centered around a region of the United States? Is it not? It's up to you to determine the pattern. So I would, when I describe, I would talk about, sorry guys, I would talk about, I would start this off as one pattern that is evident on the map is, and then I would go and describe the pattern. So I would give characteristics or examples or states from the map itself, right? So if you're going to be looking at maybe like the West, right? I'm not saying that this is an answer, but if your trend is somewhere in the West, I would use specific states where you see that pattern. I would talk about what the income tax rate is for your specific pattern, okay? Make sure you're always giving key characteristics. I already had that, so I will delete that. That is a point. Now, part C is to draw a conclusion about how the ideologies of the political parties shape the pattern that you described in part B. So you cannot talk about a new pattern for this one. You have to go on what you talked about in part B. So what I would do for this question is I would restate the pattern from part B. That's the first thing that I would do. Then I would talk about how the ideologies of political parties shape that pattern, right? So your ideologies, I would probably talk about both of them, what they are, their characteristics, and how that relates, or I guess not how that relates, but why that pattern exists because of those ideologies. Okay, and that would get you your point for part C. And then finally, for part D, explain, so this is your more in-depth answer, how state income tax rates, as illustrated on the map, demonstrate the varied perspective on economic policy making. So don't be freaked out by this question. You guys know this. So think about the uh, Republican versus conservative side, right? What are their stances on the economy versus the Democratic or liberal side of things, right? How does this map demonstrate that varied perspective, right? In this question, you could talk about regional alignments, right? Voting trends, right? You could talk about who tends to vote for each party and how that is represented in the map. Remember, you always want to tie it back to your data set, what the College Board gives you, right? So think about, why is it that tax rates are different in various parts of the country based on varied ideological perspectives on economic policymaking. So I just wanted to kind of hop on here and give you guys at least a starting point for your FRQ writing. Good luck, and I look forward to reading your answers.